Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Paladin Dance, and today I'm going to be doing a Spires of Ascension guide. Now, before we go into it, a couple of things. There are some timestamps down below if you want to skip right into the dungeon guide. However, you can catch me at twitch.tv/PaladinDan. I was streaming on Twitch a little bit this past week, and I also streamed on YouTube yesterday. Thanks for everyone that came out. I had a lot of you come out and watch the stream. It was really fun. I don't know which one I'll be streaming on mostly. I guess right now I'll just be streaming on either YouTube or Twitch, so you can just keep your eyes peeled. But if you're interested in the streams, make sure to also follow my Twitch. This Spires is going to be an 18 Spires that I did this week. Now this week was kind of a griefer week for myself personally. I wasn't able to do any 19 keys, even though I know that 100% I could have done them. I got into a couple 19s and there were just some really stupid decisions made. We weren't able to time them. However, I was pushing my own key and I got griefed 4 times in the matter of 2 days, which was like a record for me. And when I say griefed, I don't mean that like the group didn't do enough damage or something like this. I'm talking there were literally 4 times where there were 4 individual players that ruined the key for everyone. So with all that said, hopefully next week I'll be able to get some 19 keys done for you guys so you guys can see that. But here's the 18 Spires that I did. So moving right on, I'm going to quickly go over my route in less than 30 seconds because I had some of you ask for it. Now I'm not really going to spend too much time on this one because it's a pretty straightforward route for this dungeon. First off, you're going to pull these 2 packs together in the very beginning. You're going to lust them. Now if you're not confident in your group that you can kill them that fast or that you can't tank them, don't pull both of them together, just split them apart. Then you're going to move on. You're going to do the boss. Now if you're going to go left side, you have to go to the right side after the boss and pick up this trash. If you're going to go right side, you have to go left side after the boss and pick up this trash. I like to go left side because when I keep going, I don't have to pull this Hellion right here. If you go right side, even after you pull the left trash after the first boss, you still have to pull this Hellion. So I prefer left side. I skip this Hellion. You go up the stairs as you'll see later on in the video, you invis pot, and you make it to the 3rd boss. Now let's get into the actual VOD. Alright, so starting off, I'm going to pull this 3-pack right here. I'm going to generate a Shield of the Righteous first, just to make sure that I'm tanky while I'm pulling. Now in this pool, I decided to LOS to this pillar back here. And I don't really think I'm going to be doing this anymore. I don't really see any value in doing it. I think that we can just go ahead, tank the packs where they are. However, in this pack, you're going to have 3 priority kicks. The biggest one is going to be Rebellious Fist on the Forsworn Goliath, which is the big golem guy. That's going to put out a ton of damage to the entire group if it gets cast, so that's priority number 1. Then, the Forsworn Mender is going to have to be kicked. He casts Forsworn Doctrine, which heals a target by 10% health per second, so you do not want him to be casting that at all. And then after all that, if you can still get kicks on Burden of Knowledge from the Castigators, that's going to be good because otherwise they're going to be dealing insane amounts of damage to a random player, and they also leave a nasty dot. But as you can see, while I'm explaining all this, we just burst everything down with the lust and we move on to the 2nd pack. Now in the 2nd pack, again, basically this same trash is going to repeat in different ways throughout the dungeon, guys. So whenever you see a Goliath, you're always going to want to kick Burden of Knowledge. If you ever see the Mender, you're always going to kick the Forsworn Doctrine, which is going to be the heal. And if you see a Castigator, you're going to want to ideally be able to kick the Burden of Knowledge, which it casts. But after all this, we move on to the 1st boss trash. So here in this pack, we end up seeing the Mender because we just don't want to be kicking all these different things together. And we definitely don't want the heal going off. We end up pulling this pack back here, and then we just start bursting everything down. You're going to have the same kicks again. You're going to have Burden of Knowledge, and you're also going to have Rebellious Fist. Now, in the future, I think I might just pull the Mender together. I don't really think that we have that much trouble bursting all this down, and I think we have enough kicks for it, especially with the Solar Beam from the Druid here. However, it isn't a bad idea to just leave the Mender out over here. Now, once everything starts getting low, I'm going to end up pulling the Mender so that we can burst it down while everything is still alive, and we can proc the Pride. You can also just leave the Mender up and then bring him into the Pride, which I did in my 2nd Spires, and that worked out just fine as well. We just brought the Mender in with the Prideful and we just burst them down. Some groups might want to CC the Mender and something else. That way you pull 3 packs and then you pull the 2 pack and you end up spawning the Prideful instead of chain pulling into the Mender. However, as you can see, we just chain pull into the Mender, killed it, spawn the Prideful, and after we spawn the Prideful, we're going to do the boss. So for this boss, the very first thing I'll say is when they're both on the ground, they are linked together. If you run in between the link, you will take a stacking debuff, which does ticking damage for like 10 seconds. So don't ever run in between them when they're on the ground. The second thing is the bird doesn't really do anything except fly around the entire instance and shoot out 3 blobs at the group. So just don't stand in the blobs, you'll be good. As for the tank, you're going to have to be tanking the Angel when she's on the ground. She does a frontal cone. You can move out of it. It does go by really fast. Sometimes I get hit by it in here. I recommend looking at your DBM to make sure if you know it's coming up. However, just make sure to face the cone away from people, and then make sure that when she goes back on the ground, you always have her next to the bird as often as possible so you can cleave them down together. Lastly, the Angel is going to be throwing spears at the ground whenever she flies up in the air, so you just want to make sure that you're not standing next to somebody if you get targeted with the spear. But aside from that, that's basically the boss fight, guys. Don't run in between the bosses, don't get hit by the blobs, and tanks move out of the frontal cone. It's a pretty straightforward boss fight. However, once we're done with the boss, since we're going left side for the dungeon route, first we have to go to the right side before we embark on the left side path. Now here I'm going to double pull these packs of cats, and essentially what these cats do is they stack essentially a bleed on you. It's a physical debuff, however it adds up really quick and it hurts a lot. So once I'm done with my mitigation here and I end up pulling both the packs, I'm going to end up kiting. So I'm going to rely on the Druid Treants, and I'm going to rely on the Hunter Tar Trap, and also Binding Shot for the kiting here. Just be careful that you don't die to these cats. There's really no reason that you should. As long as you kite enough and you mitigate the damage, you should be fine. They're not too bad. And then again, after this, we're going to go to the left side and start pulling that trash. So once you make it over to the left side here, I put down this blue marker because I want my team to LOS. And the first pull is going to be this 3-pack off to the right. Now these guys don't really do much except for cast Hurl, and they literally just hurl a lance at random party members, and the lances hurt a lot. So what you want to do is LOS around this corner and have them all group up, and then ideally you want to stun them and blow CDs on this pull. Now you can also combine it with the next pull that I do, which you'll see in a little bit after we're done with these. If you do that, I recommend having a little bit more communication, maybe having tree ends up and then using the solar beam, and then having maybe like an AoE stun ready, and you should also have like at least a combust ready or something like that, because if you do double pull these packs, it will hurt you a lot as a tank. And they also just put out a lot of damage to the group with the hurls and stuff. So if you do double pull, make sure you have cooldowns. I just take it easy here though, because I already know we have enough damage, we're on a good pace. We don't have to do anything crazy. We'll still key the dungeon if we just take it easy. So I just do this pack first, and then I go on to the next pack. So this next pack here, since I did not pull it with the previous pack, is just going to have one skirmisher casting the hurl at your team. And then you're going to have the invisible birds, which you're going to want to make sure you get. So these guys are going to cast that venom on you as the tank, and it's going to hurt a lot as the tank. Preferably one again to use solar beam here, have some interrupts ready, or just try and get them stunned. But just try and gather all these up. I do a pretty poor job here. I don't have aggro on the one, I didn't notice for some reason. But after you gather them all up, you're just going to burst these down. Pretty straightforward pack. Then we're going to move on to the Prideful. We're just going to kill the Pride, so I'll skip over to that real quick. Then we go on to this pack. So in this pack here, you're going to have the Forsworn Squad Leader, and the Squad Leader makes all the packs around it take less damage, so obviously you're going to have to focus down the Squad Leader first. Then you're going to have a Skirmisher, which is going to be doing its hurls, and you have another mob here which has an interruptible cast, which you may or may not want to interrupt. I don't honestly remember. I think it's the Forsworn Champion, but it's a pretty straightforward pack. You just kill the Squad Leader first, and then you kill the other two. Not really hard. And as we take the flight path over, again, you're going to have a 5-pack of the birds here. And this hurts a lot as a tank if you're not getting these casts, if you're not getting AoE stun, if you're not using some sort of mitigation. So just make sure that you're stunning them, using some mitigation, doing something to help yourself out, because otherwise these packs are going to tear you down as a tank. Moving on again, this pack is very similar to the one we pulled before going to this platform. So again, you have to kill the squad leader, except now you also have a skirmisher hurling, and then you have another angel who's casting Dark Lash at the group. The Dark Lash just targets a random player, does damage to them, it hurts a lot. If you can get that cast or CC the skirmisher, it's a good idea. And then you're going to have one of the kitty cats pawing at you the whole time, which is just going to add more damage. So for this pack here, it is nice to have treants. A lot of these guys tend to run away. As you can see, the one guy is just hurling spears over here, running away. So I try and move. This is where I make one of my mistakes. One of the next packs is a pack of the cats as well, and I end up pulling that. I didn't know that that pack pats. So what happens is that they're invis, and they apparently move around. They keep patting around. I wasn't aware of that. So I ended up accidentally pulling here, which is not good. I start popping CDs. My mage insta dies. I do end up surviving. We save the pull eventually, but don't be like me. You don't want to double pull that unless you have CDs ready and you're coordinated with a group. We end up getting treants eventually, which helps out. But make sure that you split those two packs up. You don't want them together unless you have CDs up or you're coordinated as a group. So after that disaster, we move on to the next platform, and here we're going to have the Invis cats again, this time combined with a Praetor. So if you guys don't know, with the Praetors, they're going to dash around and start casting at you. You want to just move next to the Praetor and he'll stop casting at you. That way you stop taking that magic damage. However, this pack, pretty straightforward. You just kill the cats, you kill the Praetor, and you move on with your life. Right afterwards, we're going to spawn a Pride, so we just kill a Pride, nothing special here. And then we move on to this pack. So this pack here, we do have Pride and Lust. You can double pull this. I would really only do that if you are in a coordinated group. I think we could have gone away with it here, just lusting this with the Pride buff. I think we would have been fine. However, again, just get the Rebellious Fist on this guy, and this guy's only being pulled with some of the birds, so you'll be taking some damage, but they die relatively quick. I start moving on to the next pack. And once we reach them, again, rinse, repeat. You're going to want to kill the squad leader first and just get kicks here and there when you can. Now this next pack is where a lot of people do end up having trouble, so I do end up seeing one of the mobs here. This pack, again, has a squad leader in it, which you're going to want to focus down. The only problem is that there's a Praetor, so the Praetor is going to be moving around everywhere, and then you have the squad leader dashing around. Ideally, you want treants up for this. We do end up getting it right here, so we do end up doing all right. But again, kill a squad leader, make sure you stay next to the Praetor, and eventually you're just gonna DPS all this down. Once I kill the squad leader, I'll end up pulling the other one, and after that you just kill this and you move on to the boss. Now, ignoring this really bad and sloppy Pride that we did, we do end up just moving on. I go grab the boss, and you can pull this boss to either side, wherever you want to start off with. Now she's going to start off doing just regular melee attacks, and then she'll cast her Dark Stride. When she casts her Dark Stride, she's going to end up leaving a pool on the ground that's going to start shooting orbs around the arena. You just want to dodge the orbs. I get hit by the orb and then get comboed with the second ability, which is her Blind. So whenever she casts the Blind, just step out of the way. Now, I like to stack 2 of the dark steps next to each other, and then I move her about 1/3 away from where she just was. That's because afterwards she'll cast Recharge, where she starts shooting out a lot of orbs from those 2 casts that she did previously. So by moving her to another side of the arena, you can easily dodge those orbs. Now in an extended boss fight like in Tyrannical, you'll eventually just move around the entire arena and it starts getting a lot more hectic the longer the boss fight takes. However, since this is fortified, it doesn't take too long and we kill her pretty quickly. So once we cross over, since I'm Kyrian, I'm going to go grab the spear. Now this spear you're going to save for the very last angel, the angel that you lust at the top platform. So you pick up the spear and you forget about it. Now here, you can just skip the Hellion like I mentioned earlier. You're going to go up these stairs here on the sides. Eventually, when I get to the edge here, I'm going to drop down. And here, I'm going to horse first, and then I will invis pot. That way I can have my horse up while my pot is up. and I'm just going to walk all the way across to the next boss, essentially. So I walk across here, I skip this pack, and this pack that I'm right next to right now, that's the one we're going to pull, so we'll end up LOSing that to this pillar right here. Here I wait, I make sure that everyone has made it, because sometimes I've had it where people, you know, don't make it, and my hunter for some reason can't invis and ends up just turtling. So I end up pulling here. A Divine Toll, gather everything up. These guys just cast Hurl. They do hurt the group a lot. You've already seen these packs before. We do end up using Treants here, and we just end up DPSing these down. After this, we're going to go right into the boss. And after you're done the boss, remember you still have to do the other side of trash, which is identical to this one. So you do the boss and then you do trash, as you will see. This boss is pretty straightforward. Ideally, you want the tank on one side and all the people stacked on the other. So here, all my ranged are stacked on essentially not really the wrong side, but I'd rather be standing where they are and have them stacked where I am. But we end up making it work out. Now, when he casts Empowered Ordnance, you want the entire group to stack. This is going to leave orbs behind, so make sure to move out of the way before the cast goes off. And then as the tank, you have to face him away from the group, because right afterwards, he's going to do a frontal. And the frontal does a ton of damage. If it clips a DPS, they'll probably die. But after that, you just keep on tanking. Make sure that if you're a DPS, you get targeted with the circle. You just run out of the group. But aside from that, you just stand next to each other when he casts that spell to make sure you leave the orbs together. Now, someone's going to have to soak the orbs when he goes into the intermission phase. So usually I do the first phase myself with my Divine Shield. The Hunters can do it as well with their shell. Mages can use their Ice Block if they're lined up properly. It's a little bit more difficult. You have to line up the orbs in a line for the mage to just Ice Block and he absorbs them all. My Hunter in this group ends up trying to soak them, even though I said that I was going to do it with the Divine Shield. So he ends up dying, getting a B-res. But that's basically the entire fight, guys. If you get targeted with the circle, move out of the way. Make sure to stack together when he casts the Ordnance so that you have the orbs stacked next to each other and they're nice and neat for when you have to soak them. And face the boss away from the group for the frontal, and that's really it. After the boss, like I mentioned earlier, you're going to go pull the rest of this trash. You're going to LOS it just like you did the first time. You can use Treants, Binding Shot, whatever you want here. Just make sure you kill them, and then you're just going to move on. You're going to turn around, go upstairs to the last 3 packs. So once you're up here, guys, you're going to start off with the middle pack. This is because she's not going to be hurling spears everywhere like the other 2 do. So if you start off with the left pack first, for example, you're going to have spears everywhere, throwing a ton of crap everywhere. And then when you pull her, you're going to have to still deal with the spears. So you pull her first so you don't have those spears chucking stuff everywhere. All you got to do for her is face her away from the group because she does her frontal. And when she does her frontal, which is called diminuendo, you just move out of the way. Moving on to the next guy on the left, he's just going to be chucking spears everywhere. You just want to make sure you're not standing in the AoE, basically. They're going to start doing pulsating AoE, which shoots out these black pools on the ground. Just make sure you dodge them. Starts getting pretty challenging eventually, so the faster you take them down, the less damage you'll take. Remember though that you're trying to save some CDs for the very last one because he does these same mechanics and he also applies a debuff to the entire group. That's why I'm saving my spear, and we also have lust available for him. So moving on to him, we pull him, we immediately lust. I immediately use the spear because the spear makes him take 20% more damage in addition to making him stunned. So we use the spear. He's going to start taking extra damage, which is good because we just lusted. My druid wastes treants here for some reason. He used them as I speared. I guess maybe he just hadn't noticed that I had speared, so he treanted it anyway. However, we do end up killing him successfully. And if you can make it past this, guys, which is kind of sad because you have to wait till the end of the dungeon to see if you make it past the hardest part of the dungeon, arguably. But if you make it past this, it's pretty free because as you're about to see, the boss is very easy. So after the last angel, obviously you get your last pride, and after you kill the last pride, you go into the boss. Now this boss is very straightforward. First thing she's going to do is she's going to spawn a circle on the ground, that blue circle you see that I'm running right into. Make sure as a tank, you pull her towards that circle so that everyone can stand in it and you can still DPS her. Then she's going to do run through, which you just saw, where she just picks a direction, runs through with her spear, and anyone in it who gets caught takes damage. And lastly, she's going to have an ability where she targets 2 people with a circle. You just have to run that out of the group because you'll drop these black puddles on the ground, as you can see right here. After you phase her, she's going to go fly around, and you're going to spawn 5 orbs in the entire arena. You just have to, as a group, collect all the orbs and bring them to this middle node here. Now, once you pick up all the 5 orbs, someone's going to pick up the spear. I usually do it myself. And what you want to do here is you want to wait for her to move. If she's standing still, don't chuck the spear because she might juke you, and then you basically lose the entire boss fight. Like, there's probably no recovering from that. So make sure you wait for her to move. You'll see her sidestep, and then you throw your spear. And after that, all you're going to do is rinse and repeat. It's just going to be the same exact mechanics. So I'll just let the rest of the boss fight run for you guys so you can enjoy the entire boss fight. And that's going to be it for the Spires of Ascension. Guys, remember you can catch me at twitch.tv/paladindance. If you have any tips or any tricks that you use in Spires of Ascension, put them down in the comments below. I hope you guys have a good, wonderful day, and I will catch you all in the next one.